So I wanted to briefly talk about micro brands and what I feel as a customer when surfing through all those micro brands, looking at their watches and designs. And I have a few things to say, some suggestions, and maybe some criticism as well. So let's begin. So let's first understand why we purchase micro brands. So my perspective is that micro brands are independent brands which are relatively new in the market. They try to provide better watches at the right price. Better watches in the sense that they have comparable movements, they have decent finishing, and they use decent materials. And last but not the least, their designs are unique. I won't call a brand a micro brand if they make homage watches, or if they just I think white labeling is the right word. I'm not sure. They just copy the design from a brand and stamp their logo on it and then sell them on the internet. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about from India. If I had to talk about, I'm talking about Argos, DWC, Shaw. Then you have Dennison at the international stage, Baltic. Then you have Nomos, Studio Underdog, and several more. I have often noticed that people prefer microbands so much that they end up hating on large brands or conglomerates. Rolex, LVMH, then you have Richemont Group, and all these other big companies. I would say the reason why most people buy big brands is because they exist to remove that friction from decision making of most people. If I'm a person looking to buy a watch, I'm not an enthusiast. I want a good quality, decent watch. I would go with someone who is reputable. I want to trust the company, and I want to know that I'm putting money at the right place. Because these brands, they offer certainty, familiarity, and sometimes even social validation. So, as a customer, if I'm buying a big brand, I'm often paying to not explain others the reason for my purchase. The customers for micro brands are very different. These are not passive customers. These are often enthusiasts who are looking for some kind of expression. They are not really looking for jewelry. How do I say it? They want their choice of watch to reflect a sense of curiosity rather than a conformed watch silhouette that already exists. In a strategic sense, micro brands exist because the mainstream brands no longer satisfies a certain type of consumer. The consumer may already own or has mentally moved past the usual names. They are not upgrading. I won't call it an upgrade, but they are kind of escaping from the big brands. So if once brands internalize this, their messaging, design choices, and everything, then the logic to buy it becomes clearer. If you are a micro brand owner, or if you're running a micro brand, you don't need to ask how to look credible, but you need to ask how to make interesting watches to people who are already bored. There are several micro brands currently right now, and I think there was a time when technical specs were very important, but I feel that time has passed. Today, I think good movements, something from Seiko or Miyota, or Citizen, Sapphire Crystal, 316 stainless steel, I think these has become norms. I'm not sure for how long micro brands can ride this technical material wave. I'm not sure for how long these brands can advertise themselves as a brand that offers good materials, because everyone is doing it. And when everyone does it, it's just not exclusive anymore. So I think the focus should be solely on design. You need to do things that are interesting enough, yet it's something that a person can wear. If I had to give an example, The Denison Dual Time is a watch that has really impressed me. The way that they have showcased this complication is just beautiful. This is has to be one of my favorite watch designs. Is it possible for me to mention an Indian micro brand that has done something similar? Yes, it is possible. I would say DWC. They released their new Terra for their fifth anniversary. I've already made a video on that. It's a full titanium case where they borrowed machines to actually work on it, which is really impressive. And these are the things that gets you headlines. These are the things that actually says you are very serious about your own brand. You won't be able to sustain much by making the same old silhouettes or redesigning them. You need to do something new to actually stay relevant. This design is something that I have often noticed that many micro brands design as if they don't want to be disliked. They don't want to be bold. When you try to appeal to a broader market, what ends up happening is that you directly compete with the big brands. You incentivize your customer to just pay a little extra and get the bigger brand, and you also get the similar looking watch. Bigger brands have more history, they have more distribution networks, they have better quality control over their production. Overall, the service is also pretty good. What I feel that brands should do is that you need you don't have to always conform to the same old silhouettes. You don't need to make just another neutral daily beater. Not every brand has to be a go anywhere, has to make a go anywhere, do anything Garda type of. And for a micro brand, I think it's very important that they decide early what they are willing to lose, because not all growth is progress. Scaling a brand means more complexity, compromise, um, and distance between intention and execution. For independent brands, these costs are not abstract. So, some of the most respectable independent brands remain intentionally small because their value is inseparable from their constraints. And there are a lot of collectors who actually prefer this. And I think at some point, every brand must choose who they want to disappoint. You can disappoint the mass market by remaining very niche and focused or limited like DWC, or you can choose to disappoint the core watch collectors or enthusiasts by chasing volume and accessibility like Argos. There's no neutral path, but yeah, choices have to be made early on. That's what I feel. And I'm sure in a few years, a lot of these micro brands that have been popping up in India may not survive. I'm not wishing them ill luck, but the business is such that if you don't actually pick a niche, you may not be able to compete at even at a small scale. Such as I'm not sure if you have heard of Frank Lloyd. Um, Very basic designs. There's nothing interesting going on. Every time they release a watch, it's always about their materials. They're using 316 stainless steel. They're using sapphire crystal and all these things, and that's it. They need to do something that is so interesting in design that really catches the eyeballs. This is what you have to do when the market is already so saturated. I know this was a very random video where there was no flow, there were no, I would say, I did not follow any format, but I just wanted to post something here. Subscribe for more.